Welcome to another edition of Making Mindset Matter. I am going to be joined by one of my favorite people to speak to. Her name is Rozanne McKenzie, and she is, gosh, I was talking to her before we started this interview about what she does, and I'm going to rattle it off as much as I can remember. Okay, so she's the executive producer of Rozanne McKenzie Media. She is a media skills coach. So in between like her waking hours, she's decided to train other people to be as fantastic as she is. She is a presenter on Besigheid wat Saak Maak, and I'm sure other programs that I can't remember the name of. She is on Jacaranda FM. She's a voiceover artist. She's a mom, and she is an avid social media fan and influencer. And she's just an all-round lovely person. So I just want to say a big hello to Rozanne McKenzie, and thank you for joining me in this little interview where we talk about mindset.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm even tired now hearing you say all of those things. I'm like, wow. Thank you, Clive, for that beautiful introduction. I'm happy, so happy that you asked me to be back. It was so nice to do the last one. So I'm sure this one's going to be great.
It was fun, and it was 8 months ago. So kind of because we started just as we were heading in out of the hectic lockdown. I started doing the interviews, and we chatted, and it was an interesting time for you because you worried about your mom. You had been through all sorts of stuff that was going on. What's happened in the last few months in the roller coaster for you? What's it been like?
Wow. So in between, my mom has actually come on holiday here. So we had Christmas with her, which was incredibly special. She also went back, literally, she left about 10, 11 days before she was supposed to leave because we were worried about the UK lockdown, and then also because her flight got cancelled. So we had to find another way of getting her out of South Africa into the UK. So she had to book another flight via Amsterdam and get, I don't know how many COVID tests that woman has had, but she's been COVID free all of this time. And she has also since been vaccinated because obviously she's a frontline worker. So she got vaccinated, I think about 2 or 3 weeks after she was back in the UK. So that's the story with my mom. I'm a lot less worried now that she's had her jab.
I'm sure
in between,
you do know that the vaccines are all a scam, and she's going to now pick up 5G, and it's a terrible thing to do, and they're not
5G. It's like a tracking device.
Yes, yeah.
Kidding, guys. Fake news. So my mom's vaccinated, which I'm very, very happy about. And in between, I've produced a TV show. I have presented 2 TV shows. I still have only 2 children and only 1 husband. I now have a son who's in grade 1 and a daughter is in grade 000. And I've just try to keep my head above water, just try to stay positive for the most part. It's not easy to stay positive all the time, but just I guess keep busy, which is also not always the greatest thing.
Well, I mean, it's one of the things. So, because we're going to be talking about mindset, so it's interesting to kind of look at how you said it hasn't always been easy to be positive, but let's talk about, first of all, what have you done that's kind of brought positivity into your life during this time?
So, I have found a new hobby. I've recently started, or not recently, I started in August, pole dancing. So pole dancing brings me a lot of joy and a lot of bruises and a lot of frustration when I can't get things right. It's something I had wanted to do for the longest time. So actually my pole dancing and my huge tattoo on my thigh came around about the same time. I think I just got to a point in last year where I just was like, there's so much stuff happening that we can't control. There's so many things that have influenced how we live our lives that are completely separate to us being able to say yes or no. We can't say yes or no for Corona. It's here. can't say yes or no for corruption. That's another thing that we also have to deal with. But like, and then I thought, you know what have I always wanted to do, but never like felt like I've had the guts to do? And I realized that I interviewed someone on Besigheid wat Saak Maak, Carmi van Heerden, who's one of my pole instructors. And she was so passionate and so just alive. And the fact that she was so passionate about pole dancing as a fitness form and as an art form made me want to do it. And I said, well, okay, you need to start teaching me. She was like, well, I'm not really teaching anyone at the moment, because she'd taken time off to have her kids and I was like, yeah, well, you're going to start teaching me. So that I started in August, and I'm absolutely infatuated. I was actually saying in one of my group classes that I do as well at another aerial studio called The Cirque. I was saying that if I could do pole every day of my life, I would be so happy. Like it invigorates me, and it just brings me so much joy. So that's that's one of the things that's kept me sane. I'm also now doing I started on the 4th of January doing this 100 days of fitness thing, and I'm really enjoying that for the most part. It's keeping me motivated. It's kind of keeping me disciplined with what I put into my mouth. Not always. It's Easter's coming. There's chocolate everywhere. So the aim of it is not to go wild every day and hit PBs and run 21Ks every day. It's not that kind of thing. So my aim is just to do at least 30 minutes of moving my body in some way every day for 100 days. And today is day 71. It's the 15th of March. I'm allowed to say the date.
You just did.
and yeah, I'm on day 71. I've got 29 days left, and I'm feeling strong, feeling like I can continue. But I mean, it's actually been great. It's been really lovely. Yeah.
That's amazing. And it's so cool, because that is one of the things that, when we speak about COVID, we've spoken so much about what we've lost, during this time. There's the loss of hugs, the loss of connection. We're all stuck in our homes, except for you. You sound like you're everywhere. But if, for most people, we're kind of like, kind of feeling like we've lost so much during COVID. And yet, I think what's been powerful is that the people who've kind of managed to shift their mindset during this time have been people who've decided to see this as a time of experiencing new things and trying new things, because you've got to do stuff that's different to what you would normally do. Like normally on a weekend, people would go out and drink and have a party and be hungover on the Saturday. And there's like a routine to those kind of things that we kind of get caught up in doing. And now suddenly we've got to create these things that kind of make our mindset feel better. We've got to create these moments that kind of spark joy. And, I have a coach, and the coach was telling me, I need to move towards what I'm attracted to. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. And you're also doing it in a way that's really inspiring, because you're posting on social media. I mean, I follow you on all the platforms, and you're posting of you busy pole dancing, and we're seeing the bruises, we're seeing you being fit, but it's also you spreading a message of body positivity during this time as well, which has also been quite amazing. Has that been a conscious decision for you to do as well?
Yes, definitely, because I think, first of all, the fact that I can be so active and can do all of this stuff with my body, I don't think I've ever been more grateful for being healthy. I will never, ever take my health for granted again. And the fact that I am strong and that I'm capable of doing things. There's people who have been struck down with COVID that were running half marathons, doing Ironman, whatever, and now they're struggling to walk up the stairs. So the reality of what is possible to happen to any one of us, if we get it, is that your health could completely deteriorate, and you won't have the strength that you used to have, and you won't. So I am actually so grateful that I'm still able to do all of this stuff. And I think that gratitude for what my body can do has made me just not really give a shit anymore about what it looks like. Like, I'm turning 39 in 2.5, 3 months, and I've never been more at peace with what my body looks like. When I say I'm at peace with it, I'm not saying like I wake up every day. That's the thing that people think body positivity is. You wake up every day and you are just fine. The stretch marks are fine. The loose skin and the cellulite is fine and it's happy and you're just like loving your body and loving. That's not what it is. It's about knowing that that's, for me, that's not what it's about. It's not about being constantly happy and jovial because your body is your body. Like, we all have down days. But for me, it's about going, this is not abnormal. It's not abnormal to have jiggly arms. It's not abnormal to have zits on your face from wearing a mask all the time. It's not abnormal to have thick thighs. It's everyone is different. So I think for me, the body positivity is embracing my normal and going, you know what, like, I'm not gonna put a filter on this photo, or I'm not gonna not wear shorts because I've got cellulite on my legs. Of course I'm gonna wear shorts, especially now I've got this piece of art on my thigh. Like, and I think that definitely, I've always kind of felt that way, but I think I started feeling a lot more strongly about that, seeing people not have their health anymore and not have the strength to do the kind of stuff that I can do with this body, as flawed or imperfect as it may seem. It's badass, and I'm celebrating that now every single day.
That's amazing. Well done, you. I love those posts, and I mean, I love watching you on the pole. I mean, what you can do on a pole, I mean, that strength
well,
is.
Speaking of new experiences, I went to a strip club that I'm not going to name on Saturday evening. I had been so excited about
Put it all over social media. We all know you where you went.
And I was so excited. I'd like been thinking about it for months and going, okay, cool. Let me check out like what they have in terms of like COVID protocols and mask wearing and everything. And I'm going to go. I was so excited. I was amped for weeks, and it was just a huge disappointment. And I'm not going to name the place now because I don't want them to go out of business because I'm being negative. But I was expecting to be entertained. I guess I was expecting to see the kind of dancing that I'm doing, like kind of like arty and like strong moves, you know, like when you see strip clubs on them, like Hustlers, like J-Lo in Hustlers. That was not what I got. But anyway, new experience. I tried it, tick the box, won't be going back.
I'm not going to ask what you did experience. I think that we'll do over a cup of coffee some other time.
Yes, yes.
But great. Look at you getting out there and experiencing strip clubs in the middle of the pandemic, you know?
No.
You are getting out there. What you've said, though, going back, is it sparked so much for me. Firstly, you know, kind of the attitude of gratitude. You know, there's such power in being grateful. And I think it is, you know, for those of us who are healthy. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I was speaking to a friend of mine in Cape Town, and she was saying, you know, how have you not been affected? Because no one in my family has had COVID. No one in terms of, you know, I haven't had it or anything like that. But in her circle of, you know, it's like almost everyone has had a bout of COVID. And I suddenly realized how grateful I needed to be that I was experiencing this. And then also beginning of this year, and I mentioned this in my previous interview, about 6 people passed away in the second wave in 1 week that I either knew or, you know, had represented as actors or, you know, back in the day or you know, had worked in magazine industry with. And it was, I kind of, at first I was quite shaken. I became quite corona paranoid. You know, I was like, I didn't want to go out. I stayed, you know, I'd started venturing back to the gym, but I went, and then I kind of shifted and I just thought, and it's what you said in terms of kind of embrace this as the normal now. You know, you kind of, I went to a place of saying, well, this this is what we're experiencing. I've got two options. I can live in fear, or I can be grateful for what I have and try and experience newness, try and experience risk taking, try and experience things that are going to make me feel more positive during this time. And it was quite a shift, you know, in January and February, and I've been quite open about it. I was really depressed about kind of the state of the world, and then you've got corruption thrown in, and then you've got all of those, you know, it just felt like the world was falling apart. And it wasn't until I actually decided that what I needed to do was actually take a step out of how I was feeling, look at how I was feeling and say, actually, I want to re-look at how I'm seeing the world through a new lens. And, you know, so I've also started the day, 100 days of, thanks to you and Brent, of being active. So I'm on day one. So
Hey.
I'll keep you posted about how that goes. But yeah, so but I'm not going to start pole dancing. But but I've realized that what I also need to do is that I need to connect with people. I need to do all of those things that make me happy, just so that I'm in a positive mindset. Today I saw you tweeted about, you know, you keep talking about this artwork on your leg, and I saw you got the most gorgeous tattoo on your leg. So you've been tweeting quite a bit today, and you wouldn't tell me what you've been tweeting. I only saw today that you had tweeted about, you know, the fact that you can see that work of art on your leg. What has been going on in your life today that we need to talk about? Because it sounds like you need to talk about it.
Yeah, so I have noticed, this is the thread, right? I'm going to read it, and then we can unpack it. Over the past few months, I've found myself being late for things, a few minutes here and there, never shoots or radio shows, but meetings or classes, and it's really irritating me. I'm never late, but lately I'm either distracted or I struggle to get out of bed. I realized today when I was late for my pole lesson that I was late because I'm trying to fit too many things into a day. It's like this living in limbo is making me try to get as much done as I can before we go into another lockdown. Trying to get as much work in case something falls through. Like if I'm not insanely busy every second, I'm being lazy. As a result, I'm exhausted, emotionally, physically, mentally drained. The lesson that I've learned from this for the next few months is to not schedule myself to within an inch of my life. It's totally okay to have a day where I'm not doing 17,629 things. Living through a pandemic is hard enough as it is. This is maybe not the time to beat myself up about not killing it every day. Some days just need to do one thing on the to-do list and be okay with that.
Sure.
So today I was just tired. I'm exhausted. I am exhausted because it's almost like I don't know. It's like the limbo that I was talking about. It's like we don't know when the rug is going to get pulled out from underneath us again. And I think that's also why you mentioned risk taking. And I don't think that people must look at it in the context of being irresponsible, but also like I can't live in a bubble of being paranoid. There was a time also around about like December, January, that I was having these vivid dreams where I couldn't breathe. And I would wake up convinced I had COVID. I was like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. I've got COVID. And like I can't live like that. So now for me, I guess I'm kind of tipping the scale in the other direction where I'm trying to do so much because I don't know where the next 6 months are going to leave us. Are we going back into another lockdown? Then I can't go to gym. Then I can't go to pole dancing. I can't like focus on producing content. I can't, because the focus then is just on being at home and trying to survive the pandemic. So I think I'm just trying to do too much, not because and this isn't a thing of saying, oh, I've got too much work. It's not work only. It's like trying to be a good mom, trying to be a good wife, trying to spend enough time with myself, trying to fit in gym, it's a lot. So I think I need a break. I need to give myself a break. So I am this weekend going on a momcation. just by myself. I'm going to do a lot of sleeping and a lot of doing exactly what I want for 2 days, because it's a long weekend. So then the other 2 days I can spend with my family. But um, I think there's this, and I mean, I've obviously put this pressure on myself, but just because, like, you never know when it's going to end. So you never know when, because we're living, level 1 is quite relaxed, aside from the mask wearing and the sanitizing and the social distancing. um it's quite a relaxed um level in comparison to where we were, like in at the end of March in 2020. So, and so I think I need to cut myself some slack
Would you say
now.
that so it's interesting you saying that. Would you say that so you've been operating from from a base of fear, that fear has almost been driving you during this time?
A little bit, I would say I like to be busy and I like to push myself. I think I this stems from, I've been a freelancer now for 15 years. You never know when a contract's going to end. You never know. So there always has to be a plan to fall back on. So I think I like to have so many eggs in the basket, so that when one egg breaks or one egg gets chucked out of the basket, the others are still going to be okay. So I think that it's not, I like to think of it as trying to be prepared. And also, all of the stuff I do, I really like. Like, I'm not doing anything because then I wouldn't be freelancing. I'd be working somewhere that I didn't enjoy just for the salary. And I'm not that person. But everything that I'm doing excites me, and everything that I'm doing, I enjoy. So it's not um, like I'm being forced to be so busy. I am trying to do all of the stuff that I enjoy in the time that I have. And sometimes I don't have much of a break.
Sure. Well, good for you for taking a momcation. This, I
Yeah.
hope that it's a lot of sleep and reading good books and doing all of those kind of things. I would say have a good
Watching
glass.
trash reality TV.
Yes, of course. Well, I see you hashtagging Love Island all the time. So,
Oh yes, like tonight it's back on. That's the other thing, is that now now that Love Island's on, because normally I'm in bed by like 9, and then I read for a bit, and then I am out by about 9:30. Now Love Island only starts at 9:30. So that's an hour of my life now that I was normally sleeping, that I'm now tweet watching Love Island. But don't think I'm gonna miss it. I'm not gonna miss it. Not for the world.
you and Twitter, your relationship with Twitter, I quite enjoy. I think I've stuck
It's
around
so great.
just to watch what you do on Twitter. Then let's talk about your kids quickly, because we spoke about them the
Yes.
last time. How has it been with them and parenting during lockdowns and school and homes? And I think we all kind of went into 2021 thinking things would be like slightly different, but it's not really that different. How have you kind of kept yourself going and them going?
So my kids are doing so well. They just adapt. Like, and it's obviously because they're so young, so they're not yet so set in their ways. Sometimes they are. Um, but in relation to Corona and the pandemic and how it's changed their lives, um, they are going to remember this. Like, uh, there's no doubt they are going to remember this. I mean, they wear their masks, they sanitize their hands. This is what they know life to be now. They know, like, when because James is in grade 1 now, and they went to school for 3 days. So he had 3 days of grade 1, and then then they said no school. Um, and then they went back on 8th of February, I think. And it's just been so good for him. The structure and just not in, just being around other kids and his friends, and having a teacher tell him what to do. And he's reading now, which is incredible. Like, I mean, this was going to happen regardless of the lockdown or Corona or whatever, that he was going to be reading. But I mean, now he reads everything. um and and it's just adapted, and it's just been absolutely brilliant. They both have. They like when Fallon is now at the same school as James in grade triple naught, and on the first couple of days that she came back, she was like, "We don't hug our friends," and I just felt so sad because I was like, "Oh," but if you do hug your friends, you're not going to be able to go to school because everybody's going to be put into isolation or whatever if someone has it or a parent has it or whatever. So they've really kind of, the rules are, they understand the rules and they don't try and break them ever. It's in relation to coronavirus, the other rules not so much. But also we try and make things as normal as possible. Like, I mean, this past weekend we went to the National Children's Theatre to go and see Peter and the Wolf, and it was so lovely. It was outside and there's all these different families just sitting in their little bubbles watching this incredibly creative piece of theatre, and it's just so good for the kids to be out of the house or and and just kind of seeing art, you know, because theatre and it's so close to my heart, because I mean, theatre in indoor theatres, we haven't had any theatre for a year, but being able to take my kids to go and watch something outdoors with other families who are doing the same thing at a distance or wearing masks, or like, that's the new reality now. So if those are the things we need to do to make sure that we can continue to go to the theatre, then I'm definitely sanitizing my hands and sitting 2 meters away from everyone else. We actually went yesterday at the same time as a family that another family that we know, and I mean, at no point did we try and hug or whatever, but we were next to each other 2 meters apart, and we wouldn't have seen them if we didn't go, if we stayed in our house. And you know, I'm not saying everybody must go out all the time. Like, I don't want to be, what's the misinterpreted, that's not what I'm trying to say. But if there's an opportunity to do things within the parameters that we have been set, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And I think that's fair enough. I think, you know, we all have to assess our levels of kind of safety and what that means to us. And for some people, I respect it, they've kind of spent this time and decided to stay very isolated and be very kind of pretty much on their own, you know. And some people have decided that they're going to still try and live a life of social connection and go out to theatre. And I think what we've got to do is that this entire period, what it's really taught me is that it's just so important to look after yourself and to discover what that means. Because for everyone else, it's different. I've realized that in terms of looking after myself has meant that, for example, my health needs to come first. You know, I've lost weight in lockdown, which I think, you know, I'm one of the few people who have. You know, most people have, you know, all said that, you know, I stopped drinking in lockdown because it was making me too anxious. I've changed all these things to make me feel better about the normal that I'm living in. And I think what we need to do as people is we need to assess what's going to make us happy within the realms of being safe. And so I think it's great that if that's what you as a family are experiencing, then I think that's fantastic, as long as it's what's sparking joy in your life.
Yeah, exactly. And I love what you said about learning in this period to look after yourself. Like, for me, my mental health is like this a lot of the time. So when I find things that do make me feel better in here and in here, then I'm going to do it. Like, I'm not obviously going to do it recklessly, but I think, because a while ago I tweeted something about we can't judge people for how they deal with the pandemic. Like, people need to do what they need to do to cope. And someone actually interpreted that tweet as like, oh, go out and break the rules and be out after curfew and be disrespectful of the people that are now very gravely ill or people that have lost their lives. And that is not what I was saying. What I was saying was, if you need to go to the gym with your mask on and sanitize, that's fine. if you are the person that can't go to the gym because you think the gym is where all the germs are spread and you need to train at home, that's fine. But don't, I think we often get quite judgy of what people's coping mechanisms are. And I think that is what I meant. Like, we have no right to judge um, how people decide to behave at this time, because none of us has lived through a pandemic before, first of all. And second of all, like I mentioned earlier about the parameters that have been put in place. If you have an outdoor event like a children's theatre show and people are socially distanced, people are wearing masks, no one's breaking the rules there, because we've been given a set of parameters within which to operate. If you operate outside of those parameters, then you can be arrested, or then you do deserve people's judgment. But if you are doing everything safely and you are doing everything within the confines of what we've been given, then really there's nothing stopping you from taking your kids to a children's theatre show.
Absolutely. The only time I judge people is when they wear their masks under their nose. That's that there are laws, people, so
Yes.
yeah, so those kind of things. But it is, my partner Frank, he's been going to gym religiously. I stopped going to the gym for quite a while. I was road running rather, because for me, the gym just didn't feel like somewhere that I wanted to be, just in case. I've started to feel a lot more safe, and I've started venturing back into the gym. And there's some people who think I'm crazy about, for kind of going and picking up weights and, doing all of those things because of what potentially I could pick up there. I mean, I literally drench myself in sanitizer when I do it. But for some people, that's crossing a line. And I think,
Yes.
but for me, in terms of my mental health, I know that fitness and being healthy makes me better. And I think that's more important than living in fear and not kind of taking a calculated risk to experience something that's going to make me feel better. I don't know if I'm making sense or if I'm rambling.
You are making sense, but when you say living in fear, I know what you mean. But like, for someone who maybe doesn't, the gym is just an example. For someone who maybe doesn't want to go to the gym, they don't see that as living in fear. They see that as them being safe. But we are also being safe, going to the gym, washing up, sanitizing, wearing a mask, all of that kind of thing. But people have such kind of varying, it's been so interesting for me to see how people are, and the lines that they are willing to cross. Some people are willing to go way out, and other people are not. Like, I mean, we seen friends and stuff, but either at home and it's like 2 people at a time, and it's like distanced, and it's just about that kind of sense of community and seeing people that we haven't seen for a year.
Yeah.
And
I think that is so important, and you're absolutely right. So, when I say living in fear, for me, it was living in fear by not going to,
yes, yes,
so
yes,
that doesn't mean that because someone else doesn't mean that they're living in fear, and I'm not putting words in their mouth. But for me, it was, these 6 people had passed away, and I was just living. And eventually I said to Frank, I said, I'm feeling so down, I'm feeling so depressed. And he was like, you haven't left the house in about 12 days. I hadn't set foot out of the house because I was petrified of what, the second wave and what it was doing. And I kind of realized I needed to. So what I did was I added in that I started having coffee with someone once a week. And that's all I did. On a Friday morning, I decided that I would, kind of go out and meet someone for coffee, and just started adding that back into my life. And I could feel immediately the difference of just being able to connect with people was so good for my mindset. But that's me, I'm an extrovert. I feed off the energy of people. I love being stimulated by going to the theater, and I miss those kind of things as well. So I can just imagine, kind of being able to experience that just feels like a breath of relief. So,
Absolutely.
as you can kind of like experience something that feels true to you and your world and your kind of normal, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate the saying the new normal, but this is the normal now. This is what we live
Yeah.
in, and it is what it is. Rozanne, I want to ask you then, and we'll wrap up now, because I know I've got you late at night and you're doing lots and lots of things, and you've got Love Island to watch and all of that. But I want to ask you, so people are watching this, and I'm wanting to leave them with some kind of sense of the fact that we can be in control of our lives, that although the world feels out of control, um, that the fact is that we can take control, and that so much of our mindset is choosing to see the world through a lens of gratitude. And what you said, if someone came to you and said to you, Rozanne, I'm feeling so completely down about the world and the kind of what we're experiencing, what advice would you give them, from your experience? What would you say to try and get them out of their funk?
The advice that I would give to someone who is feeling like the situation in which we find ourselves is getting them down is let it get you down. Take time to acknowledge what you are feeling and go, this is actually shit, and I'm not doing so well, and I need a little bit of help, or I need to speak to a friend in person 2 meters apart, or I need to go and take a walk on the beach because I can now, or whatever. I think the most important thing, and this is just from my experience, when you are feeling like things are a bit dark and a bit heavy, is don't run away from it completely. Acknowledge, go into that feeling, acknowledge it, acknowledge how it feels, and start to think of ways that you can lift the heaviness. So whether it is going to the gym, or climbing on a pole in your underwear, or getting a tattoo, or just hanging out with your kids in the garden, those kind of things for me put my life into perspective, so that I do get that gratitude back. But also that gratitude hangover must also not make you feel bad of, I have a job, I have a roof over my head, I can't complain. No, you can't complain, because everybody's going through a bad time right now. The whole world, you are not being selfish. 7 billion people are also going through what you're going through. Maybe not to maybe to varying degrees, but in a nutshell, acknowledge it, wallow in it if you need to for a day or two, and then find a way through it. Find just a little bit of something that can pick you up out of that darkness, whether it's listening to a song that you love, or just going for a walk, or whatever. But I think the most important thing is not to deny that it is shit. It's to acknowledge it and then work through it.
Sure.
And the working through it is the hard part, often after you've gone for the walk on the beach, because then you're still stuck with the stuff in your brain. So then you've got to like keep remembering that walk on the beach and going, okay, this is bad, but at least I can go for a walk on the beach.
So it's powerful, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I totally agree with you in terms of we need to acknowledge our feelings. It's one of these things is that we need to if we are feeling low, we need to acknowledge that we're feeling low, and not try and fight it and be like, kind of false positivity.
Yes.
But actually acknowledge the feelings. But one of the things I want to add to what you're saying is that I think what we also need to start doing is being vocal about when we're feeling down. Is that, and I've posted on Facebook, and some people have been, kind of either berated me or said, we love your vulnerability. But I posted once that I was just not feeling it, that I was tired now. This was, I'd had enough. And, and maybe Facebook wasn't the platform, but at that point I needed kind of like a public airing of how I felt. Yeah. But I think one of the most powerful things we can do during this time is to ask for help and to say, I need to take a break, I need a momcation, or I need a, you know, I need someone to kind of, you know, talk to get me out of this. And I think it is so important, Ross. We can get caught up in those feelings.
Oh, and you mentioned earlier about my relationship with Twitter. I love Twitter. It's my favorite social media platform. And I had been feeling this way. This is now in reference to the tweets I was speaking about earlier. I had been feeling this way for a while, like a few weeks. I'm like, I'm always rushing. Like I'm rushing from one thing to the next. And I'm just always like 2 minutes late, or like 3 minutes late, or whatever. And putting that out there today has made me feel so much better, because it's made me realize that I do need to take a break. And the fact that I put that up, I also know resonated with a lot of people because of the replies that I've been getting. And I didn't put it up so other people could say, oh, I'm feeling the same. But the fact that they have means that there was a reason for me to put that up, aside from the fact that sharing how I'm feeling was important to me, you know. So it's good to be able to have a platform to go, you know what, this is not a vibe. This ain't it at the moment.
This is not a vibe. I love that. Yeah, and you're right. And the thing is that I always believe that stories heal stories, and I think our honesty in being able to say, because you do have a following, you are very well respected, and you are very well loved by your fans, and I think they see this persona of you, you know, kind of pole dancing, being so everything's so fantastic, and look what I'm doing, and look, I'm on day 75 of 100. And I think it's very powerful when someone who has a voice that people listen to stops and says, actually, I need to slow down because I'm so busy running around trying, almost panicking to make sure that I get as much done before whatever could happen happens, that I've actually got to slow down and just enjoy where I'm at and breathe for a bit, I think is incredibly powerful.
Someone said to me the other day, oh, your realness is so refreshing and so hilarious. And I was like, I don't know any other way to be, really, because I can't imagine imagine how tired I am now, how exhausted I would be if I was being fake all the time. And like, if I was just pretending everything was great, and like, just that like toxic positivity must be so exhausting.
But you're an actress, Rozanne.
Yeah, but no one's paying me at this point to just be me. Like, if I was playing the role of Rozanne McKenzie in a pandemic, then possibly I would be very positive all the time. But unfortunately, nobody's paying me to do this.
Damn it, Ross, you put it off with aplomb once again. So yeah, I want to thank you because you've given up your evening to spend some time with me. And I know you're not feeling 100%. You are a bit under the weather with a bit of a cold. And I know you've had a very hectic day, and you've spoken very honestly that today is a day where you're feeling tired and you need a break. So thank you for fitting me into your schedule and for letting us have this time together. I think what you've said has been really helpful, and your honesty and vulnerability is refreshing, but you are hilarious on Twitter as well. You do say some things that make me spill my coffee. So yeah, you are fun to watch and listen to.
I wanted to say a big thank you to you for having me on again. And also, like, I may have had a day that's been exhausting, but how nice has it been to have someone to talk to and to bounce things off of. And, you know, because sometimes you can feel like you live in a bit of a vacuum, especially if you get in your head a lot. So thank you very, very much for just exchanging thoughts and ideas and experiences with me. It's been lovely, as always.